Hey everyone, Christian and I, of course, welcome you back to another episode of Mondays with Mindy.
Hey everybody, welcome back.
Today's episode features a conversation with Loren Ruch, who's currently the Senior Vice President of Programming, Partnerships and Special Events for HGTV. Loren graduated from the University of California, Santa Cruz, earning a BA in Journalism and Theater Arts. He started his career in the world of lifestyle talk and game shows, such as, do we remember Love Connection? Yes. Family Feud and Home and Family. He then went on to help launch NBC's America's Talking cable network before he went over to be senior producer of Good Day LA and its nationally syndicated counterpart, Good Day Live.
Wow.
During his tenure there, he collected 5 Emmy Awards.
Wow.
In 2008, Loren ventured from California to Tennessee, the home of Scripps Productions, to join the programming staff of one of its networks, Home and Gardens, popularly known as HGTV. As executive producer, he oversaw productions of some of the network's highest-rated specials, including HGTV Dream Home, HGTV Green Home, The Rose Parade, and White House Christmas. A few years later, he was promoted, of course, and moved to New York City, and their office is there to oversee all the programming tied to the company's ad sales-driven initiatives, including custom cross-network and fully integrated programs. Say that 5 times, won't you?
Seriously.
He also and currently develops and manages series and specials such as Brother vs. Brother, My Lottery Dream Home, The Trip, 2018, and of course, the ratings boon and current Emmy-nominated, dare I say I voted, as an Academy member. You're not really supposed to say, I'm saying. His current Emmy-nominated A Very Brady Renovation. Loren lives with his husband, David, in New York City, but gratefully still visits us back here in Los Angeles, where his family and best friends live. So let's get it going.
Awesome. I am looking forward to talking to him again, a friend of both of ours, the very talented, very successful Mr. Loren Ruch.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is so much fun.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. I mean, at this point, many of our listeners know that, Christian and I decided to do this because we were missing talking to creatives, which feeds me, feeds us all, and especially during this time of not being able to be together. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that's ending. We are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not an oncoming train. Yeah, back to work we go. But a lot of people assumed that I meant, when I said creatives, actors. And actually, no, you are such a prime example of an executive who I classify, having known you as long as I have, as a creative as well.
100%.
So,
100%.
Yes, we will get started. And I'm so excited for people to meet you and know more about you, because you really are a very unique kind of showrunner, producer,
well,
VP,
thank you.
all that ensues usually. Okay, so we start each Mondays with Mindy with some five of the 20 questions that Christian and I have come up with. So into my grab bag I go. Let's get started.
All right.
Okay. Oh. Huh. Did how or where did how or where you grew up and were raised develop your creative aesthetic?
Oh my God, what a great question that is.
Thank you.
I think it absolutely 100% did. I come from the San Fernando Valley in the 80s. I was the ultimate Valley kid. I mean, there was no one more Valley than me. Woodland Hills, California in the 1980s. And I think that it shaped who I was, because I was part of that mall culture. I was influenced by pop culture. I would run home from school and watch music videos. I mean, it was like the core of that time. And I was obsessed with game shows, and I knew that I wanted to be in the entertainment industry because I was so obsessed with game shows in the 1980s that I would go on weekends to CBS Television City and watch them from the audience because I was just like obsessed with them. And so I think it just influenced my wanting to be a creator. And I didn't know exactly in what at the time, but I knew that I wanted to be part of this television world. And I think that growing up in LA, specifically in the Valley, and having so much pop culture at my hands was a huge influence in who I became.
Well, may I say, as a guest of many of those game shows, I was the game show hoe that when they asked all the girls who wanted to do it, it was always me. So I did body language and tattletales and
Hollywood
let's make a
Squares.
I did
I remember them all.
jealous. You could have done like
$25,000 Pyramid.
Academy Award winning film. I don't care. But if you were on $25,000 Pyramid, that like you got me for life.
That's amazing.
And I felt the same way. Oh, give the other girls Johnny Carson. I want a game show.
And honestly, you probably had more fun.
Yeah.
So much more fun. Of course, probably not the ideal thing for a career, but like I didn't care. Yeah. I love that we share that.
Did you ever want to potentially be like the host? Because I feel like that's the first progression is like a kid watching those shows to be like, I want to host those things. Like,
well, I did. I mean, it's kind of funny. I actually, my very first job out of college was for Love Connection. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up working for Wink Martindale for 2 years. And he was such an amazing guy. And we were doing a show called Trivial Pursuit at the time. And he knew I wanted to be a game show host. And I was so young. I was maybe 22 or 23. And he would let me do his stand-in work for all the rehearsals. And I had a whole demo tape of me being a game show host. That's amazing. Like 22. It was the most fun. It was just like one of those things that I still look back on so fondly because it was such an opportunity that most people don't get opportunities like that. So,
So many people mocked him. He was one of the kindest men ever.
Mindy, for like 15 years after I worked with him, I still got a Christmas card every year. They're just he and his wife are such nice people. So, that was awesome.
I love hearing that.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have a hidden talent? I keep humming because we've known each other so long and like, I don't know. Do you have a hidden talent?
I think my hidden talent is not one that most people would find particularly interesting, but I could count in my head without the use of a calculator in certain circumstances. So I used to work for Good Day LA and I was in the control room and people would have stopwatches and they were obsessed with having to get to breaks at a certain time. And I would know that if we went to break and it was like 8:34, that like when we came back, we'd have 2 minutes and 27 seconds. And they're like, how do you know how much time? And I felt like I was like a human stopwatch. And at the same time, there are times when I will be in the middle of the day, no watch and nothing on me. And I'll be like, it feels like it's, 2:37. And I'll look at the clock and it'll turn from 2:36 to 2:37. So I think my hidden talent is probably a neuroses of overly keeping track of time. I'll take it as a talent. Why not?
It's called a producer. Thanks for playing.
I was just saying it's like human clock, and you're like,
it's your sixth. Yeah. No, it's your sixth sense for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
But don't ask me to like speak a foreign language, and I don't like play any instruments. I'm not talented on any of those fronts.
Stopwatch could come in handy. We never know. If you could have dinner with any three people, who would they be and why?
Gosh, those questions are always so hard because I know that you're supposed to pick like a historical figure or a biblical figure, but I'm so close to like family. And if I could like revisit and like spend more time with my grandmother, it would be like, that means everything to me. Or get to know my mom's dad died a year and a half before I was born. And all anyone says is he was like the kindest man that they had ever met. And his spirit lives on to this day. I would love to have time with him. Like, I think that I tend to go for the emotion more than the history. So I think it would all be kind of family members that I would like to get to know better.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
I love that answer. And that is the correct answer. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be some
Abraham Lincoln.
Abe Lincoln.
Abe Lincoln, Jesus, and Oprah. I guess that would be interesting.
Exactly. But you know what? Would it? I don't even know.
But Grandpa Lou, I think, is more interesting.
Right exactly.
Loren Ruch, when was the last time you cried?
Well, there's two examples of crying. I could cry at a YouTube video or at a commercial, and that happens like almost daily. The little things touch me, but like that deep over life circumstance crying doesn't happen very often. I've gone years and years and years without crying. And when this is not a funny story, but it kind of is funny in the weird way. I'm not known for necessarily being a crier. And I was at my other grandfather's funeral and I was like handling everything fine. And out of the blue, it was like one of those god awful guttural cries. And I got the entire place in tears and it was so dramatic. And David was like, "You're stealing the show at the funeral. Calm down." It just all...
It's so funny coming from David. Okay. Okay, your husband. who I happen
Mr.
to
Show
know that's
Stealer
hilarious.
himself.
People in glass
hello.
houses.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I get that. I get
Well, like
that.
certain movies, right? You're the same way. Like
Yeah.
we could watch a movie and we'll be crying.
Well,
I mean, there's certain things.
I cry at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I cry more out of joy and happiness 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Sentimentality too, of course. But I saw one of the last times I saw you cry was, of course, at your anniversary, and that was really beautiful.
That was
Your
sweet.
anniversary party.
Yeah,
it was very sweet.
I cry over happy things, and I also cry over. I watch the Today Show every morning, and they do these like moments of like the moments to celebrate. And if there's ever anyone surprising their kids that have been away at the military and hugging their kids, I'm like,
yeah, the kids like pop out, surprise them. Oh, that's
yes,
hard to get through.
Yeah, that's everything.
All right, last question.
Yeah.
What's the last thing you binged on?
Oh, that's a good question. This whole time of pandemic, we've been watching so much television. And I think the one thing I was never really a big fan of in the past that I'm now binging on is stand-up comedy, which is so strange. I had not been that guy that sits and watches shows. And I think that the world is so crazy right now that I have probably watched 15 stand-up routines in the past 2 weeks, or maybe even more than that. We just keep watching them over and over. You too?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because it used to just be
differently.
like an HBO thing. And now with Netflix and all these other big players, they're cultivating these amazing talents where they are getting these pretty solid specials. And you've got variety, you've got like good comedians, some that are like, they're still figuring it out. But I agree with you. Like we're looking for that light in the bleakness. So we're turning those on because
that has nothing to do with COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, because obviously they were recorded pre-COVID.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
So it's so great to have that reprieve.
Laughter and an audience, two things that don't happen that often. So it is kind of nice.
I know. So how gobsmacked were you on Instagram? This is, Tim Levy's theater company. There were people in a theater.
I know. They're getting it together
in England.
It's really incredible, actually. So
I mean, with masks, but they're in a theater, and I almost cried.
Yeah, that's the stuff that should make us cry. It's like there is hopefully a light at the end of this tunnel, and joys to be had and theater to be seen and all the stuff that we love to do. It made me so happy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. All right. So here we go. Let's talk about your creative process as you define it. I mean, whatever it means to you when I say that, and your trajectory and how you infuse. And for me, you're one of the most incredible type of creatives where you actually mirror inspiration, ideas, and bring them into fruition as a storyteller, but also you're the big boss daddy.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun though, because I think at the core, you hit the nail on the head. Like I like to think of myself and I like to think of all of us as storytellers. I mean, that's the core of what, if someone was to say, what do you really do for a living? It's getting to tell stories. And I just happen to do it for HGTV, where I feel like there's stories that always have blue skies and happy endings. And so it's a world that makes me proud to be part of. I'm not ever embarrassed to put my name on one of my shows because it's the type of programming that people sit and watch and hopefully feel either happier or smarter or more inspired as a result of. But our process is interesting, at least for what I do, is I oversee the programming team at HGTV.
Right.
And so we have a certain number of shows that come from internal brainstorms and internal development meetings where we sit with our team and we come up with ideas and then we figure out how are we going to execute them. And then we have other ideas that are pitched to us from production companies that have either found amazing talent or have great concepts. And then we get to collaborate with them and figure out how to best tell the story so that it fits our brand. And so it's neat because my brain gets to be split between part business person and part creative. Like at the core is the story, but I also need to know who our audience is. And I also need to know what's appropriate for HGTV. And so it's kind of finding all of those and combining all of them and making sure that what we're seeing when we're sitting at home on our television reflects exactly what we're trying to see when we're putting the concepts together.
Right. But it's interesting that you said it, when you said brand, I immediately went, oh, and again, it's because I think I've just known you so long. How do you know, or how do you all decide when the brand is kind of changing? Because as a network, and I've noticed this with all kind of script shows, there is a tack at some point that you guys kind of don't do a whole rehaul, but
Evolve.
How do you know when to do it? Why do you do it? Obviously for ratings, I'm assuming, but like, How does that happen?
I think part of it is for ratings, but part of it is wondering where an audience wants to go. Because if you get too stagnant, then something becomes not very interesting. And we actually were at a point a few years ago where we stepped back and admitted a lot of our shows are starting to look exactly the same. And people didn't even necessarily know the name of the show because it was yet another cute couple flipping houses type of thing. And so we thought, how do we stay within the brand that is ours, but push the boundaries a little bit more? And so someone in an internal meeting came up with the idea that the Brady Bunch house was for sale, for example.
Right.
That's something in the past, we would have never bought a house. We're a network. We're not property managers, but it was an idea that we felt like we should run with because it felt like it would hit the cultural zeitgeist of what people wanted to see. And so it's fun to push the boundaries. More recently, we have a show called Renovation Island. And it's like, do you think and it's doing really well. And we were like, do you think our viewers still consider a hotel a home if it's done by a family, if it has qualities, they're living there as a family and producing it. And it worked. And so I think part of the fun for me is seeing how far we can go. We just did Martha Knows Best with Martha Stewart, which is like putting the G back in HGTV. We had not done gardening in years. And
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, I'm
we
so
were
excited
testing
for
waters
that.
we just wanted to see if that's going too far or if our audience likes it and they like it. So it's fun to kind of
I think the opposite. Again, I was just going to say, like post-COVID, people have gotten back into gardening.
Yeah.
And there are more landscape shows on more networks.
Yep.
That's right.
Yes, I love putting the G back in HGTV.
It's funny.
I love that.
There's this incredible little nursery that's not too far from where I live. It's something Haggerty's or something in Hollywood. Every time I have driven past it, it's probably since, I won't say immediately into the pandemic, but we'll say like probably early May, there is consistently a line around the block of people 6 feet apart waiting to get into a nursery to shop, like to the point where I was like, are they selling drugs? Like I went on Yelp to see what was up and it was just like everybody, it has 5 stars out of like 700 reviews on Yelp that people are like, this is just the best store. They have the best products, reasonable prices, amazing people, and they help you cultivate this garden of your own. And I'm like, this really is like a thing right now. So, I mean, from my standpoint.
Well, it's appealing. I mean, we're all so stuck indoors that even the thought of having like your own little slice of paradise is so appealing. My mom watched Martha Knows Best and she sends me a text. She's my biggest fan and / critic.
Hi, Dolly.
Hi, Dolly. But she sent me a text and she goes, I never thought I was interested in gardening until I saw the show. Like, I think people are also realizing in quarantine that they want a little bit of space. They want to cook more. They want to garden more. I don't know, home just takes on a different meaning when you're there all the time.
Yeah. But the other thing you're really good at, Loren, is, and I don't think people, I think people miss this and how such an important component and a hard component to handle is you're not just producing the show and content, but you're usually dealing with a personality or personalities like Martha, like the guys from the Brady Bunch, your host, property versus property, stuff like that, that you are also dealing with talent. And that's also a very different skill.
I think for us though, it's easier than for a lot of networks because we're dealing with experts. And so the thing about the talent in our space is they're doing what they love more or less. And so you're not dealing with like actor egos or diva moments.
Excuse me.
Really, not you. You're a creator, a comedian, and an all-around great talent.
Okay, all right. Dig to China.
No, but for us, I mean, there's always going to be people or persnickety or have their tendencies and so forth. But like I'd say overall, people joke that have come to work for us that have worked at other networks, and they're like, you guys found the secret sauce of like the nicest people on camera because they're doing what they love to do for the most.
Well, we also hear from, other networks within your community of the nightmares of the talent. And yet they're an important component because that really is a lot of where the fan base can come from, not just the show, right? That they love the person.
They are the faces. I mean, to the viewer, no one cares about me. They care about who they see on camera, except for you. But like, no, I mean, they really do. They care about the people that are representing. When they watch HGTV, they want to know, how are the Property Brothers? They're not asking like, how is the production process? So I think it's interesting.
What's it been like as far as getting going on new shows? I mean, you haven't stopped for a moment. You and our mutual friend are one of the few people I know who, I mean, the workload did not stop.
No, it got busier, because what happened was the minute that the pandemic kind of struck, we were trying to think of how do we keep fresh content on camera? And so we did a couple different things. So the first thing that we did is we started to look for what are some quarantine shows? What are things that we could shoot where people self-shoot them? It doesn't involve any crews. They're fully safe and completely socially distanced. And so we came up with 3 shows. We did something called Design at Your Door, where your favorite HGTV talent would surprise you by Zoom, see a room in your house that needed to be renovated, and send you a crate with all the materials, and you had to do it yourself.
Love that, and I really wish I was a guest. Okay, wow.
and then they are presenting their makeover back to our host. And so our hosts were all crying. They were so proud that these people did the work. Like, that was a quarantine only. We would have probably never done it in another environment. But the other thing we did that kept us so busy was we started to tap into exactly what you were talking about before, Christian, with like the gardening. It's like, what do people care about times like this? We thought of gardening, which is why the Martha Stewart show came about. We thought about organizational. So we did a show called Hot Mess House, where a woman by Zoom taught you how to completely get your house organized so that if you're stuck within these 4 walls, everything's in its place. We started to just think of like what's top of mind during a time like this. Yeah. And then once we finished that, we moved on to, are there acquisitions? Are there shows that are out there that have already been produced and ready that have never aired, so that we could keep fresh new stuff on the air? And then the third part is planning for post-COVID. So then it's like lining up a bunch of stuff, because when this is over, people are going to want to see new content. Yep. And so we've literally never been busier. It's been like nonstop from March 10th on, or whenever that time was. That has been just insane, but wonderful in terms of staying creative and staying busy. Awful in terms of obviously the state of the world, but on a personal front, it's kept us very kind of, I don't know, emotionally charged in a good way.
Yeah.
That's great. So,
post winning the Emmy for your nominated show, A Brady Renovation.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Whose vote does not have to be bought. And
thank you.
Not just with HGTV, but, you know, you do something, and I hope I'm not overstepping my bounds, but you do something with our mutual friend and your husband's.
Yeah.
And I would, if you feel comfortable,
totally.
I would love you to share that, because it has inspired me. And I think it'll inspire a lot of people to do their version of what you guys do.
Honestly, it's been probably one of the most important things that I've ever done in my life. It's called Success Yes. And basically what we've done is created this forum.
And let everybody know, you made this up. Like, this is
totally
not
made it up. Yeah. No, this is out of this crazy head.
Oh, so, it was like, is this some like long-term thing that you found in a book or on YouTube? Okay.
No.
Maybe eventually. That's not the intention yet. But basically what we do is, it's 2 couples that are best friends. Mindy knows we go way back, all of us, and we've known each other forever and ever. And we get together once a year, and we put together what we want to accomplish for that year, how we're going to do it, and check back on the year before to see what we accomplished from the previous year. But it's a completely no holds barred approach to it. You share absolutely everything. There are no secrets. And so you start off, you share your financials, you break it down into categories: business, there's personal, health, relationships, purchases. It's really this comprehensive way of determining everything that you want to accomplish. But it's not just throwing it out in the universe and hoping that it happens. It's also coming up with bullet points for what you're going to do to make it happen.
Make a plan.
And then we do them in where we always would consider an inspirational location. So it's also kind of a mini vacation. So we've gone to different beaches or deserts or like amazing places. And it's 4 hours per person. It's hardcore. There are literally tears in certain people every year. Like, it hits home for certain people at different times. But it's really powerful. And we went back to like the original one. We've done it in, I think it's 21 years now.
I was just going to say it's got to be double decades by now.
I was thinking this was just like started a couple years ago. This is incredible.
Oh, no. This is like been going on forever.
And I found that, go on.
No.
And I found that I had listed, I was living in LA and I was working for the news and just in a completely different place than I am now. And one of the things that I put on a long-term, so every 5 years, you also put together long-term goals so that you're always thinking of bigger things than only the next year. And I said, I would like to live in New York and be a network executive for a cable network. I mean, that's like pretty specific stuff. And like, we put countries that we wanted to visit, and it's just been insanely powerful, truly.
Well, I mean, to me, it's the cross between having an accountability coach and an intimacy something, because you the four of you are each other's family, best friends, you know, ad nauseum, add things to it. And I just was always so inspired. And I remember when it first got going, it inspired me to sort of find a couple people to confide in all of those things.
Awesome.
And we do. Now, we don't have the same organized, but it's really always moved me.
Thank you. You also realize like how many secrets we all have from the people that are closest to us. And it's not like we're doing it intentionally. It's just the way that relationships are. And so by breaking down those walls and being like, it was a good year, I earned this amount, or it was a bad year, or I owe this amount on credit cards, or I want to buy a house, or you know, I want my relationship more intimate, or whatever. It could be anything. And so it's very powerful to just let that stuff out, because there's no shame in talking about it. And you end up finding solutions to work towards just making yourself happier as a result of it.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So where is your, can I ask just career-wise? I know that you are, this is in no way trying to get you out of HGTV by any stretch of the, I know how much they love you and you love it, but
They do.
Will you share one of your aspirations of something that you still have not gotten to do or want to do?
I think one of the things that I would like to do, which I could probably do maybe in addition to what I'm doing, I think I want to become a life coach at some point, because I'm seeing people who are working with coaches and the power that it gives them and the inspiration that it gives them. And I think I would like to do that in a way that I don't want to be a therapist. I don't want to go into that direction, but I think that there'd be something really empowering about getting to like mentor people that don't know what direction they want to go in. That I don't know. There's something there, because I feel like I love what I'm doing, and I keep thinking like, there's not another cable network I'd rather work with. There's not another type of production I would enjoy more.
Okay, so that was.
But
May
I don't know.
May I just interrupt that by saying that? So that was I wanted to ask you that. There's such deliciousness in networks under the umbrella, right? There's HGTV, there's the Travel Channel, there's the Food Network. But you know, Discover. There's all kinds. Is there anything else that you would like to be able to put your brain behind?
Well, I would like to work on what I call hybrid shows. I've always been intrigued by when different lanes cross. And so like a show that combines both food and home, a show that combines travel and food. I want to play more in mixed lanes instead of only pure home renovation or pure house hunting. And I think that's where this Discovery networks it's so many networks, and they're all anything in the world of unscripted, basically. And so I think that there may be room to test the waters in the same way that we were talking before, how if our audience is open to hotels, why aren't they open to traveling in search of the best food and seeing how people live in those places? You know, like there's ways of combining a lot of the different worlds together.
Well, and you know, the show that I still want to do, I mean, so I totally want to travel around the world and find the best bathrooms.
I love that. It's interesting, honestly, because the bathrooms are so different in different places.
I know. No, but me and my friend, I've always wanted to adopt those two English ladies. I want a motorcycle and a sidecar with my friend, and I want to travel all around the world, and I always have to potty. Yes. So it's like, it's a thing for me. It's really a thing. And I think I can't be alone.
Can I give you a title for the show?
I love that he's already got a title. While you find the best hotel to stay in and the best food, also it's very important, where's the cleanest potty? So yes, hit it.
Mindy's new show, Potty Around the World.
Okay, folks, I'm officially pitching it to Loren right now. Oh my God, Potty Around the World.
Hey, I think I have your first episode too, because I was in Cambria not too long ago, and there's literally the sandwich board outside of a gas station that said cleanest bathroom in California.
Well, listen, I mean, you know, it's like
starting point.
Listen, when we, you know, like you guys, we travel to Peru and Iceland. it really is a source of conversation of where to go. True. And then once we find it, we get back into the van or our cars or are walking and go, how was that? Like we rate it. It's and it's hilarious.
People would buy that book too, not to mention like rated bodies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am now over YouTube and this vocal, whatever it's called, network, copywriting Potty Around the World.
It's all yours. Take it.
Thanks, babe. Thank you so much.
I have to say, Loren, I think it's amazing too, going back to what you said about the shows, like Mindy asked you what's kind of next. And you're thinking about these hybrid shows. I mean, most people, as they're succeeding in their career, are like dialing back that's the pressures of the job. And like you're taking two very heavy pressure-filled producing type aspects of a show and adding it together. I think
it makes it more fun. I mean, like we aren't curing cancer and we know that. And so like, why not have fun? I said, we're like telling stories and playing games for a living. That's all that it really is, truly. And so like, if you look at it that way, it's a lot of hard work. I'm not going to lie. We work a bajillion hours and there's stressful shows and whatever. All that stuff goes along with it. But at the core of it, it's a lot of fun. It's like the hidden secret where you always hear people saying, don't get into this line of work unless it's all you think about. I'm like, I love it. I don't know why. I don't think there's that much room for the negativity. If this is what you want to do, then do it and have fun with it.
Yeah,
well, most of our guests are of that ilk, right? Yeah. That there is a joy and a passion and an excitement about the work and about doing it. And
And if you could like step back and realize that, what a blessing that is.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes. Yeah. So what is your current source of inspiration? What do you or you and David do, read, see that inspires you?
I mean, prior to the last couple months, I'm a complete travel junkie, like obsessed with travel like you. And so my goal was always went on one trip on the way home, plan the next one. Like I live to travel. And that's been really interesting is to find creativity when you're homebound, because this is by far the longest I've ever been at home. And so I think that my new source of inspiration is more localized travel. So I am walking. I made a vow. I have not stepped on a subway or a train. I live in New York City. I will walk anywhere. I don't care how far it is from the city. And so the city has now kind of become its own oyster, and it's been kind of fun. And so I think I still have the travel bug. I'm just going to have to localize it for the time being until the world opens up again.
Well, you're in one of the most perfect cities to do that.
So that's true.
You got a couple options there.
Just a few little blocks you can walk up and down.
Yeah, and I have to say, your and David's pictures on Instagram of the city by night have been so. I mean, I'm seriously pining. I have had to cancel.
It's been so long since you've been here.
Oh. I know. October. Okay. I'm a coming.
Good.
Yeah, I just cannot wait any longer.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah, I know you do.
That's right.
Loren.
Yes.
Thank you so much. This has been such a kick in the pants.
This has been like the most fun thing I've done all week. I will do this. I'll be back tomorrow, even if you're not recording. I'll do a Tuesdays version.
You'll just sit there. Just sit there and wait.
I'm just gonna wait until this camera pops on again. So whether or not there's a show.
Games in the middle of it. Oh, I mean, hook, line, and sinker.
I wish you tremendous success, and I am so excited to see you with your new Emmy. That you'll be collecting. Fingers crossed, everything crossed. And I wish you luck, but I don't have to, because you just make things happen, and it's the beauty that is you.
Yeah.
And I adore you.
I love you, and I want to thank you for letting me be on this. And I know that you'll probably cut this part out, but I think you're just the most wonderful person. You've been such a good friend for so many years, and like this is just like such a fun little like icing on a cake to get to just have a conversation.
But now you have to tell Mindy something nice too. Close it by saying something nice to Mindy.
There's nothing not nice to say about Mindy. That's how I will.
Well, thank you.
Give a big hug to David for me.
Will do.
Great.
And say hi to the LA crowd, since I'm not able to see anybody. So
of course.
We will, and I want to let our viewers and our listeners know to check out the Instagram, which again will be on MondaysWithMindy.com. There'll be some show notes so you can link up and see all the stuff that he is working on, has been a part of. You can check out the Brady renovation, but check out his Instagram. if you like travel, it is a happy, optimistic, hopeful, and beautiful Instagram account to appreciate. I don't think there's any photo in there that I don't like double tap every time I see it. I'm always like, it's so amazing.
Thanks. So it's a little self-serving at times, but Instagram always is. So it is what it is.
Yes,
it's the perfect way.
The nature of it.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. So thank you again for joining us. We're so grateful to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, the very talented Mr. Loren Ruch.
Thanks.